bluesy, modal type songs, and how do you string some of that stuff together. And this is a little bit more than, it's not basic, okay? So I guess it's more towards the intermediate, but assuming you know modal tunes that you're playing the B flat pentatonic scale over the key of G really is what you're doing. And most of the time you stay on the 3rd fret and 5th fret. So you kind of get off of anything that's got the 3rd note in the measure, which is your B note. So a lot of times you're holding down the C, which is the 1st fret on the 2nd string. Stuff like clench mountain backstep. Okay, we're working on some more licks that will go in those type songs. Man of Constant Sorrow, In the Gravel Yard. Been listening to several players that play a lot of this kind of stuff. Greg Cahill of Special Consensus, Eric Gibson of the Gibson Brothers, Ron Stewart. Been listening to some of that, so I wanted to kind of string together a few of these ideas that will help you on these kind of songs, because if you're not used to playing them, you kind of, well, you need to add some more tools to your toolbox for these particular type of songs. They won't work in every song. Doesn't work well in I'll Fly Away because it's just not a bluesy tune. So the more you know, the better off you're going to be. So let's see what we've got here. One of them is a kickoff. Some of these bluesy type of songs are actually tend to be just a little bit slower. They're not usually at breakneck speed. I've heard Clench Mountain Backstep obviously play pretty peppy, but a lot of them are more medium tempo. So what are you trying to do? It's fast enough to keep a roll going, but yeah, it's not super breakneck speed. So there's a couple places where you can add some filler notes. And one follows up on the last video I did was talking about doing some single string ideas on the 4th string. Okay, something like that, except now I'm going to apply it to the bluesy scale here and do it as a kickoff. So a good kickoff would be, instead of going, okay, to fill that up a little bit, you go. So it's. Go to the slide or whatever, but it's what you do to get to that 3rd fret. So it's start on the thumb there, so you do a little thumb index action before you start the lick. I think it sounds really good to lead you into it. And actually on the Gibson Brothers song called Just an Old Rounder, which is in the key of A, it's a little bit slower, and Eric kind of hangs out on that open D leading up to his break. Is pretty cool. Okay, so you take a listen to that. So that's a good way to get into your break. That can also be used as a D lick. Okay, if I can do it, let's try to put it into Clench Mountain Backstep if I can. I'll have to play it kind of slow. So it works really good as a kickoff and really good as kind of a finishing D lick there, if you can get it in. So working on that single string stuff's kind of tough, but it's on my priority list too. All right, so the next thing I want to do is try to start showing you some other licks that are in the bluesy scale. And these often end with a backwards roll where you're doing 1, 2, and then either choking the 3rd string at the 3rd fret or the 4th string at the 3rd fret. A lot of times I get in that open first as a grace note, or on the 4th string. Okay, either one of those will work. So almost all of these licks that I'm going to show you end up with a backwards roll there. Okay, so first one is really easy, but it starts to sound pretty cool. And this one's also kind of a go-between if you're trying to work your way from down up the neck back down. This is kind of a good halfway point. And then it can also be a standalone lick, but it sounds like this. Okay, so we're at the 4th fret and the 6th fret. 1st string on the 4th fret, and I do it with my index, and the 6th string at, we don't have 6 strings, and the 2nd string at the 6th fret, unless you're Taylor Swift. Okay, with my ring finger. Okay, and it's a forwards backwards roll pretty much. So I start with the fifth string. And once again, it's got that backwards roll at the end. So so you get the forward roll, and then you lift your fingers off and move it back down. That's also kind of the difficult thing, is getting your hand back down here quick enough to get your your index finger on that second string at the first fret to get rid of that B note when you do the backwards roll. So it sounds like this. Okay, and that works well on clinch mount backstep. Okay, so there's one. All right, moving on up the neck. If you remember, I did a Ron Stewart Ideas, long videos, like 20 minutes long. I don't know what I was thinking. But a lot of people have watched it for lots of minutes as I looked at my analytics. But towards the end of that, I talk about some of the bluesy stuff he does. Okay, so if you notice that position, you can do any of the F position, bendy, bluesy, okay, guitar kind of licks you can do. But I wanted to specifically talk about that last lick I did where he's... Okay, so where he goes up to the 8th fret, that's kind of the next position I want to go to. So it's usually 8th fret. I usually hit it with my ring finger, I think. Okay, but it sounds very similar to the last lick, but once again, we're getting a little farther up the neck. And this one's a little harder to explain. This is take 2 here of me trying to explain it, but it sounds like this. It's not a forward backwards roll in that you don't start on your thumb. You start on that note on the first string. And then you go to the 5th, as it's the second note. So it's 1st, 5th, and then you go back to the 5th fret there on the first string. Okay, once again, clinch mount backstep. A little late on that one, but hopefully you hear that it will fit in there just fine. So there we go. I will try to do one more here up the neck for you, and then I'll stop. What this is leading to is kind of the chromatic scale, and if you're really interested in that, you can try to learn it, and it sounds pretty cool. I actually have in a couple of places in some of my breaks where I put the whole scale in it. Well, not the whole scale, but enough to fit a couple measures. And I'm not going to try to explain it because there's a whole lot of backward rolls, forward rolls, positions, and I don't think I'm capable of explaining it right now, but it sounds something like this. Okay, and then I add that in with back to this 4 and 6 position. There's a pretty cool thing. It's not really tough because it's all forward rolls, but play that one for you real slow. You actually are doing what I said earlier with the 4th fret and 6th fret, and then you do catch with your middle finger, you go to the 5th fret on the 3rd string there temporarily. So see if you can catch this. I think I can get it in clinch mount and backstep maybe. And I had to alter it because it'd be shorter. Okay, but it's a little more of a rolling kind of idea instead of kind of a little more syncopated. A lot of different choices there. So if you kind of catch on to the positions where I'm at, you can kind of create your own licks. I don't know how many I've created or how many I've kind of figured out from other things I've learned, but it's pretty fun. All right, so the next one's up here at this position, and I'm gonna make it sound like this. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little pull off here, and I'm at the I'm on the 10th fret with my index, and I'm gonna pull off with my ring finger on the 11th fret, so 11 to 10, pull off, and then my middle finger is on the 2nd string on the 11th fret. So I'm going 1st, 2nd, back to 1st. Let's see. And once again, at the end, it's kind of got the backwards roll to it. Slide all the way back down, you can. I think it kind of sounds better staying up here. Okay. Can I get that in Clint's Mountain back step? Yes, I can. All right, and then you can combine that with kind of the middle position lick that I showed you earlier. Okay, I kind of put that in something like maybe the old Crossroads. Bill Monroe song, you gotta get a little Bill Monroe mandolin lick there at the end on the 4th string. That's pretty fun. All right, that's enough for that for now. I know it's kind of like the shotgun effect. You get a scattering of different ideas here, so hopefully you can catch on to one or two. A couple of them are pretty easy. Get you up the neck, also playing in some bluesy songs, and pay close attention to the positions that I was at, and you can start to kind of create your own. Even if you can't figure out what I'm doing exactly, you can find something you might like better. All right, take care.